All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our assessment parent presentation. This will be about an hour long, and the goal here is to provide some general information about the upcoming assessment season, as well as to give you contact information if you have any further questions. Tonight's presentation will be recorded. So, after tonight, we'll have our presentation posted on our YouTube page. So if you want to review later, we go too fast, you miss something, it'll be up there for you to review. Getting started here. My name is Nicholas Cavey. I'm the administrator of testing and instruction at Orlando Science High School. I'm joined tonight by a couple of my colleagues here. I have Miss Beagley, she's our instructional coordinator. Throughout the presentation, she'll be answering your questions directly. We're going to pause periodically to take questions that we feel might benefit the group. So if it's something specific to your student, we'll get back to you individually, either through message or email, or we'll answer it out loud for the benefit of everybody here. Additionally, I'm joined by Mr. Hahn, our assistant principal. He'll be assisting with some of the questions, as well as Ms. Bolot, our college counselor. So the four of us are eager to answer all of your questions, and we hope to make this presentation as straightforward and informative as possible. All right, so for the question etiquette, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. The team is working behind the scenes to respond to you as they're coming in. As I mentioned, if it's something that'll benefit the group, we'll pause periodically and discuss the answer to your questions for the benefit of everybody here. Some of the questions, if they're super specific or they require us to do a little bit more research, we'll respond to you through email. So just make sure you include your email for something that might be very specific. If you need us to look into academic records or transcripts or things of that nature, we'll need about 24 hours to get back to you, but we assure you we will be back in touch. And as I mentioned, all questions will be answered either via live chat or directly through the chat feature here. Here's what we want to discuss tonight. So starting off with communication channels, anytime you're trying to communicate lots of detailed information, it's important that everybody knows where to find it, right? So we're going to make sure that you know where to find information about testing, including room assignments and updates and reminders and things of that nature. Prohibited items. We're bound by the rules of the state and College Board when it comes to administering these exams with security. So it's important that students understand what's allowed and what isn't in testing rooms. We're going to go over the FSA and the resources available. We'll talk a little bit about graduation requirements. There are 2 high school assessments that students must pass either with a direct score or the concordant equivalent in order to satisfy the state's graduation requirements. We'll talk about the Scholar Diploma, which is an additional designation for students who pass all of the state assessments. We'll talk about the upcoming ACT School Day, which is available to our juniors, AP exams, and then our industry certifications, which are BASE and PLTW exams. And then finally, at the end, we'll save some room for questions. All right, as I mentioned, those important communication channels are all listed here. The first item there is tonight's Zoom presentation. So that's, here we are, Wednesday, March 23rd, 5:30 p.m. For those of you who want to review or those who missed it, the recording will be available on our YouTube page. Teams, we started using Teams during the pandemic, and we found it to be a very useful way to communicate information directly to our students. We've been communicating Teams updates through the grade level Teams chats, whether these are test reminders or room assignments. This is where students can find all of that information. So Teams is going to be an important resource. Additionally, teachers will provide updates. They're going to give students all kinds of information about exam length, what's allowed, what kind of calculator they can bring if they need one, everything that they'll need to know so they'll be successful on test day. Our school newsletter is updated weekly. Now that we're getting into testing season, you can expect to see lots of updates in there about upcoming assessments. So I recommend everybody check that. It's usually released Friday afternoon or early Saturday morning. We have bulletin boards around the school. On the third floor, we have an assessment bulletin board where we'll post the assessment schedule, room assignments, all kinds of important updates for students. And additionally, email will send information to parents about FSA reminders and College Board reminders and things of that nature. So hopefully between all of these different communication channels, we'll have everything covered. But again, you know, if something is unresolved, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to email me or my colleague, Miss Beagley, and we'll get right back to you. All right, as I mentioned, prohibited items, it's important. And again, we don't even have flexibility here. If these items are found on students in testing rooms, maybe they fall out of a pocket or they ring during an assessment, we have no choice but to invalidate. So it's very important that everybody is aware of these prohibited items. In testing rooms, there should be no cell phones, smartwatches, wearable technology of any kind, laptops, tablet computers, Bluetooth devices, MP3 players, iPods, or cameras. Now, yes, laptops will be available, but these are our school laptops. If a student's taking an FSA, it's on one of our devices. There's no need for them to bring their own laptop to take a state test. All of that stuff needs to stay at home. Calculators are also prohibited. For some AP exams, students are allowed and encouraged to bring calculators. Those subjects, those teachers will communicate those expectations directly to students. But for the FSA, if a student's taking the Algebra 1 EOC or the Geometry EOC, the calculator is embedded in the software, so there's no need for students to bring calculators. Students may not consult textbooks, notes, teachers, other students, or any resources during the exam or during breaks. No talking, no disruptions. This is even relevant to breaks. If students take a restroom break, they are explicitly told not to share any content or any information about the test while they're taking those breaks. If any of these violations are observed, students' scores will be invalidated. All right, right into it. So we're going to start with FSA. I'll go through our FSA slides, and then I'll take a quick break to review any questions that are coming in. So FSA assessments include the FSA ELA assessment for 9th and 10th grade, math, which would be Algebra 1 and Geometry, and then students who are in pre-AP Bio will take the Biology EOC. And this is what I just mentioned here. If your students enrolled in 9th and 10th grade this year, they'll sit for the ELA reading and writing test. This is a 3-part test. So that'll start with writing, and then there are 2 reading sessions. Algebra 1 EOC is enrollment based. So if your student's taking Algebra 1 or Geometry, they'll sit for an EOC for those subjects. Those are 2-part exams. And then the Biology EOC, we have a group of students currently enrolled in pre-AP Bio, and those students will sit for that Biology EOC. Miss Monroe, our pre-AP Bio teacher, has been preparing them for the EOC by going through the county resources. So even though they're taking a course that's a little bit more challenging, a little bit more rigorous, they'll still sit for that high school Biology EOC exam. All right, so who must take the FSA? So per Florida statute 1008.22, all public school students are required to participate in statewide assessments. ELL students will participate. We have all of our accommodation plans in place. So if your student has an IEP or a Section 504 plan, they'll be tested with their approved accommodations, including flexible presentation, flexible responding, flexible scheduling, flexible setting, assistive devices and tools if necessary. And this isn't relevant to any of our students this year, but the state also offers a Braille version of this exam. All right, so the Florida Standards Assessments provide parents and families, teachers, policymakers, and the general public with information regarding how well students are learning the Florida standards. As I mentioned, all publicly funded schools, including charters, must administer the FSA, and they must be administered on campus. I know last year when we had distance learning, we had a few questions about whether or not these could be administered remotely. The answer to that is no. Obviously, this year we're all back in school, but just to be clear, these assessments must be administered at school. Students will not be admitted to testing rooms after the assessment begins. This is a very clear directive from the state. Once the assessment begins, the student will have to participate in a makeup assessment. Makeup assessments will be offered for the FSA subjects. Those are a little bit easier for us to administer, but for the College Board AP exams, because they're paper-based, we don't have as much flexibility with makeup. So we ask that all students arrive on time or early on testing days. That way they don't have to worry about not being admitted to testing rooms. All right, and this is our assessment schedule. I cut it off just so that we're focused on the FSA subjects. A copy of this schedule is also available in our newsletter. So if you want a copy of it to hang on your refrigerator or maybe print and highlight the dates that your student will test, that might be a good option. But as I mentioned, again, that's going to be in our weekly newsletter. You can find it and print it out. Coming up right out of the gate, here, April 7th, we'll have our first FSA ELA assessment for writing, and this will be 9th and 10th grade. I get a lot of questions about why is the writing assessment so much earlier than the other assessments, which don't start until May. The reason for that is it takes the evaluators, the graders, a while to go through all of those essays. So in order to get these things scored and back to us at the beginning of the next school year, they need to administer them in early April. So April 7th will be that FSA ELA assessment for 9th and 10th grade. And then the built-in makeup window will be from the 8th through the 15th. Going to May 2nd will be ELA reading session 1 for 9th and 10th grade. The next day we'll do reading session 2, and that's a 3-part test. So students must participate in all 3 sessions in order to get a FSA ELA score. The makeup window for reading will be from May 4th to the 25th. The biology EOC, which is a 1-part assessment, will be administered on May 5th. Makeup window 6th through the 25th. Algebra 1 and geometry the 9th for session 1, and then session 2 will be on the 10th. And then we have a makeup window for those 2 assessments from the 11th through the 25th. All right, before we get into all of the expectations, I'm going to go each assessment. I'll give you a breakdown of sort of what they're like and what students can expect. But just to make sure we're keeping up with the questions, Ms. Beagley, do we have anything coming in?
Most of the questions have been answered, but one parent inquired whether this was for high school parents specifically. So do you know of the time and date for the middle school version of the assessment presentation?
If we can get that parent's contact information, I'll find that and then we can send it to them tomorrow. I don't know off the top of my head, but there will be something similar to this for 6th through 8th grade students.
Okay, and that's the only question.
All right, if it's all right with everybody, I'm going to keep going then. All right, so expectations for each FSA assessment. Starting with writing, because it's the first one right out of the gate on April 7th. This is administered in one 120-minute session. And if, again, your student is eligible for accommodations, they'll have the extra time. And so they can test for longer than 120 minutes. It consists of one text-based constructed response. So students will read a variety of texts and respond to a given prompt. It's computer-based. Meaning students will have to type their response. The score is combined with FSA reading, which, as I mentioned, will be administered in early May. So the writing and the 2 reading sessions will make up the 1 FSA score. Students will not be able to take the FSA reading if they don't take the writing. So if your student misses the writing and then they're not here for the makeup, they can't get any score without having completed all 3 sessions. And ideally, we're completing them in order. So we want to have writing and then the 2 reading sessions. Again, just stuff comes up, but whenever possible, just please make sure your students here on testing days on time. Planning sheets will be provided to the students. However, writing on the planning sheet will not be scored. Every once in a while you have a student that loves to write out their essay by hand and they use the planning sheet and they write this great essay, but that still needs to be transferred to the online platform in order for it to be scored. All right, reading. So this is for 9th and 10th, May 2nd, session 1, May 3rd, session 2. And that isn't a typo. We're testing both grades at the same time. This is when the window opens for the FSA reading. So ninth graders and 10th graders will both test on those days. Like the writing assessment, this is a computer-based exam, contains 56 to 66 items administered in 2 sessions over 2 days. As I mentioned in the last slide, students must take session 1 before session 2, and they have 85 minutes for each session. The writing, they're allowed more time, 120 for reading. It's 85 minutes each session. Writing just takes a little bit longer for students oftentimes. If a student does not complete all reading and writing sessions, they'll not receive a score. I know I mentioned this in the last slide, but this is an important item that comes up from time to time. And these tests are composed of reading comprehension, grammar, and listening skills. And this is important. Earning a passing score on the 10th grade ELA assessment is a graduation requirement. So there are 2 assessments tied to graduation requirements as determined by the state. One is the 10th grade ELA assessment, and the other one is the algebra EOC assessment. Students must earn a 3 or better or satisfy the requirement through a concordant equivalent. And I'll talk a little bit about those concordant equivalents momentarily. I have a slide set up, so we'll come back to this. But just keep in mind that the 10th grade ELA assessment, earning a passing score of 3 or better is a graduation requirement. Last point, and this is in bold and underlined, students are required to use wired headphones for the reading assessment. Our ELA teachers do a really good job of reminding students to bring those wired headphones. If they have wireless headphones, that's not going to work. So they need to be wired. We have some on hand, and we're happy to share and we're happy to use them. But, a lot of times people maybe consider that a personal item. So if your student wants to bring their own headphones, please just make sure they remember to bring them for both reading sessions on May 2nd and May 3rd. All right, on to FSA math. So this is for Algebra 1 and Geometry. These dates are May 9th for session 1 and May 10th for session 2. Computer-based, enrollment-based. Unlike the ELA assessments, for 9th and 10th grade, all of our 9th and 10th graders sit for FSA ELA regardless of, academic level. For Geometry and Algebra 1, these are the students who are enrolled in the courses. So if your student is enrolled in Algebra 1 and Geometry, they'll sit for the EOCs on May 9th and 10th. Only session 2 allows a calculator, but the calculator is built into the testing platform. It's easier to use that calculator than to try to bring one and figure out which one's allowed. If your student really prefers to have a handheld calculator, we can make it work. I just need to make sure that it's an allowed calculator before they proceed. But otherwise, we just have students use the embedded calculator, and that seems to be fine. As I mentioned, the Algebra 1 EOC is a graduation requirement. These tests contain technology enhanced items. Students will have the opportunity to take a practice test where they'll get to use drag and drop, open response, multi-select, graphic response, item display, and all of these other features before the test. That way they know exactly how all of these functions work. And a work folder will be provided for students to do their math work. All right, the biology EOC. This is an exam for students currently enrolled in AP Biology. We also offer an opportunity for our AP Biology students to sit for the biology EOC. This isn't required, but it's recommended. The reason for that is because it can satisfy the Scholar Diploma designation. So I'll talk about the Scholar Diploma designation on an upcoming slide, but we're going to send out a sign-up form for our AP Biology students. And if they're interested in sitting for the biology EOC in addition to the AP Bio exam, they have that option. But all pre-AP biology students will sit for the biology EOC. And this is a computer-based 160-minute session. Unlike the other tests that I just mentioned, the biology EOC will be completed in 1 day. So there isn't a multi-part test here. All right, Ms. Beagley, any new questions coming in that we can address?
Yes, so one parent asked if students that are enrolled in AP Chemistry will be taking the reading FSA on the same day as the AP Chemistry exam. AP Chemistry is scheduled in the afternoon for that day.
Right, so I was actually going to get to that. There is some conflict with a couple of our AP exams and the FSA schedule. The reason for that is, when OCPS kind of puts together some of these final dates, a lot of their 9th and 10th grade students are taking a lot of the upper level AP courses that we offer to some of our students here. So occasionally our AP exam dates will be in conflict with the FSA schedule. It's harder for us to offer retakes for AP exams because they're paper-based, and because they're paper-based, there's enhanced test security. Whereas the FSA being computer-based, it's easier for us to conduct a makeup session. Long story short, if your student is enrolled in an AP course and an FSA and there's a scheduling conflict, they'll sit for the AP exam on that primary date, and they'll complete the FSA assessment during the makeup window. Anything else, Ms. Beagley?
We have one parent asking about practice tests. So I brought up that most of the students participated in the progress monitoring benchmark a few weeks ago. So just a general announcement that if parents are interested in seeing those scores, they can reach out to their teacher or to me, and we can let them know how they performed on the practice test.
Right. So there are resources that our teachers are sharing to help our students prepare for these exams. Additionally, and I'm going to just kind of move on to the next slide here because this is sort of the perfect opportunity. The state provides some additional resources for students. There's a whole family portal on the FSA assessment page for students and families. This says 7th and 8th grade, but never mind that. The point here is that when you get there, you can click on the subject that your student's testing for, and it'll show all different types of sample questions. It'll show all the content they can expect to see. This is really going to be a valuable resource for just helping your student understand what they can expect to see on that assessment. And again, I can't overstate the importance of just these resources that are coming from our teachers. Our teachers know what our students need to do to prepare and to be successful. So a lot of those resources will be coming directly from their classes. And again, this is just the second part here. This is from the FSA portal. These are a few points that I just wanted to emphasize here. Just providing positive support and feedback to your student, encouraging them to relax. We understand there's some test anxiety. We want students to feel at home, comfortable. On our end, we're ordering some snacks and providing mints and, trying to create kind of a mellow, nurturing test environment, but it'd be really helpful to get the buy-in from the parents as well. So, understand what the test items are and encourage your students to do their best during testing. This is the achievement breakdown here, and this is actually the same as the College Board AP exams. It's graded 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 is the highest. This is mastery. Level 4 is proficient. Level 3 is satisfactory. So according to the state, level 3 is the lowest level that's considered to be passing. If you get to the 2 and 1, if it's say the Algebra 1 EOC or the 10th grade ELA assessment, in those cases, students would have to retake or satisfy those graduation requirements in another way. So we want 3 or better. 5 is best, but it's important to understand how students will be evaluated. When you get those score reports, you'll get the overall score, the achievement level, the percentile, and then specific content area scores on the material assessed with each subject. We generally get these scores, near the end of the summer. And then as soon as we get the score reports, we distribute them to students at the beginning of the school year. And this is, as I mentioned, the family portal for you to review some of the resources on the FSA site. All right, before I proceed here, I'll take a quick stop for questions. The next section, I'm going to swing back around and talk about those graduation requirements and the Scholar Diploma designation. But before I do that, do we have anything else coming in that we can address at this time?
No, we haven't had any new questions since the last time we stopped.
All right, I'm going to keep going then. So as I mentioned, students who are enrolled in grade 10 will take the 10th grade ELA assessment. Students enrolled in Algebra 1 will take the Algebra 1 EOC. Students must earn a 3 or better in order to satisfy those state requirements. However, there are concordant score opportunities So if a student, for whatever reason, has a hard time earning a 3 or better on the FSA ELA assessment, they can also satisfy the 10th grade FSA ELA assessment by earning a 480 or better on the SAT evidence-based reading and writing section, or an ACT on the English and reading subtests. For Algebra 1, they can earn a 3 outright on the Algebra 1 EOC. There's also an opportunity the next year when they take geometry to satisfy the requirement by earning a 3 or better. We offer the PSAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test to all of our 10th and 11th grade students automatically. So another way to satisfy it would be to earn a 430 or greater on the math section, SAT math score of 420 or greater, and ACT math score of 16 or greater. In the past couple of years, we're offering more SAT and ACT school day opportunities on campus. We offered an SAT school day opportunity to our junior class about a month ago. Was that 5 weeks ago? And we're offering an ACT to our juniors later in April. So, that might help to take a little bit of the pressure off students. Obviously it's better to pass the first time, then you don't have to worry about it. But if for whatever reason your student has a bad day, they don't give their best performance, there are other opportunities for them to satisfy the graduation requirements by earning those concordant scores through some of these other assessments. So our goal is to support students, help them master the content, and give them plenty of opportunities to show that they know the knowledge to satisfy the requirement. I also mentioned the Scholar Diploma designation. The Florida, this is all over the state of Florida. Generally students receive the standard Scholar Diploma, but there's an additional designation that the state reserves for students called the Scholar Diploma. And this basically means that students have achieved at a high level. And in this case, it's focused on earning passing scores on state and college board exams. Going back to why I recommend AP Biology students sit for the Biology EOC, students can satisfy the biology requirement for the Scholar Diploma by earning a 3 or better on the AP Biology exam. But if for whatever reason they don't, they'll take the Biology EOC, which is a little bit easier, and they'll have a better chance of earning a 3 or better. So we encourage our AP Bio students to, yes, sit for the AP Bio exam, but also sit for the Biology EOC as well. So not that you have to have all of this memorized. This is on the state of Florida's website, and you can also review it in this presentation. But in order for students to satisfy the requirements of the Scholar Diploma designation, they need to earn 1 credit in Algebra 2 or an equally rigorous course. They need to pass the Geometry EOC assessment with a 3 or better. They need to earn 1 credit in Statistics or an equally rigorous math course, pass the Biology EOC or AP Biology exam, earn 1 credit in Chemistry or Physics, earn 1 credit in a course equally rigorous to Chemistry or Physics. And what that means there is that it needs to be a science class with a lab. Pass the US History EOC or AP US History exam, earn 2 credits in the same world language. So that would be like Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Turkish 1, Turkish 2, and then earn at least 1 credit in an AP IB or dual enrollment course. Here we have many AP courses to choose from. I think most of our students are probably enrolled in maybe at least one, or dual enrollment, or earning a credit there will also satisfy that last requirement. So this is the checklist, and the Scholar Diploma designation, it represents a high level of achievement. So we encourage all of our students to pursue this designation, and I just invite you to go back and review these requirements, and check in with me if you have any questions. All right, anything else coming in at this time before I move on?
One question regarding the Scholar Diploma. It was for students whose geometry EOC was canceled because of COVID. What are their options for taking that exam in order to get the Scholar Diploma?
Yeah, they can sit for it if they want to take it. Just have them contact me and I can schedule a time for them to sit.
That's the only question.
Okay, awesome. All right, on to the ACT school day. So as I mentioned, we're offering more SAT, ACT school days on campus this year. We offered an SAT earlier this year, and now we have an ACT coming up. I sent out a registration form to juniors in December, There's still an opportunity to sign up for this. If your 11th grader didn't get a chance to sign up for the ACT school day and they still want to participate, just have them send me a message on Teams, swing by my office or email me and I'll add them to the list. This is going to be a free opportunity for students to sit for the ACT. ACT is a standardized assessment in English, reading, writing, math, and science used by most colleges and universities to measure high school students' college readiness. And as I pointed out in our earlier slide, if your student hasn't satisfied those graduation requirements, the ACT school day provides important opportunities to earn those concordance scores. So it's recommended for all students who are all 11th graders, across the board. I would recommend to take it. So this is on April 19th, 11th grade students only. Unfortunately, we don't have any flexibility here. I tried to see if we could extend this to 10th and 12th graders, but they're pretty firm. They're limiting us to just 11th graders this year. Scores are college reportable. It's reportable. It's computer-based, and we'll share the room assignments and test day reminders with students through Teams and our usual communication channels in early April. All right, on to the College Board. So I'm moving kind of through a lot of things quickly here. Again, feel free to email or contact us after the presentation if you need a more thorough explanation on any of these things. AP exams, this is our schedule. So we have a lot starting on May 2nd and then going all the way to May 13th. And we have multiple exams covering a couple of weeks here. This schedule is pretty rigid. This is something that the College Board comes up with because these are paper-based materials. There are exam security issues that will go along with us administering on the wrong date and things of that nature. So just keep in mind that these dates and these times are firm. So we need students to really understand that they need to be here. They need to be here on time on the day that they're scheduled to take an AP exam. All right. What to bring: 2 sharpened pencils for all responses with multiple choice answer sheets, 2 pens with black or dark ink for completing areas in the exam booklet covers and for free response questions, and up to 2 approved calculators with the necessary capabilities if they're taking AP Bio, AP Calc, AP Chemistry, AP Environmental Science, AP Physics, or Statistics. And I recommend, just like I kind of pointed everybody to the FSA family resources, I also recommend that families review the apstudents.org/courses link just to get more information. It really gives you a thorough overview of the length of the exams, what the sections consist of, what's allowed, what the calculators, what kind of calculators you can bring. Additionally, our teachers will make sure that students are aware of what they need to bring for these exams as well. So if your AP student has questions about their exam, their teacher will know all the answers. And finally, a ruler or straight edge only for the AP Physics exam. And we have extras on hand, but if you bring one, that's a bonus. And just like the state tests, the AP exams are scored 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5 extremely well qualified, 4 very well qualified, 3 qualified, 2 possibly qualified, and 1 is no recommendation. AP exam scores are a weighted combination of student scores on the multiple choice and free response section. The final score is on a 5-point scale. The multiple choice sections of AP exams are scored by the computer, and free response sections are scored each summer by experienced AP teachers. In fact, some of our experienced AP teachers have been invited to participate in evaluating the free responses in the past, and it's a great experience for them. But this also contributes to sort of the delay in getting the scores. I know a lot of times we get messages right after students sit for an exam. When do the scores come out? Because these tests have this free response section, it usually takes a good month and a half, 2 months before we receive the score. So I'll just say be patient. And then as soon as the scores are released, you'll know through your College Board account. And to the readers, the evaluators go through rigorous training to ensure they have a thorough understanding of the AP scoring rubrics. All right, any questions on AP before we move on to industry certification exams?
There's no questions.
Okay, Sounds good. All right, so I'm going to start with BASE. The BASE is a credential exam. It's a biotechnician assistant exam for students who are in biomedical. So it's offered to students starting in their third year in the program. And it's a pretty long exam. Miss Bright, who is our instructor, prepares the students, gives them opportunities to practice. And if they come in and they pass the exam, then they earn that lab assistant credential, which is awesome to have. And this year, the BASE exam will be administered at 8 a.m. on Saturday, April 9th. So coming up right around the corner, and it'll be administered right here at Orlando Science High School. And Miss Bright will be the contact for all of that information. And if you're looking at any of these exams and you don't know if your student is supposed to take them, it probably means they're not, because these exams have been kind of discussed and sort of built up. So at this point, if your student isn't on the biomedical path, or they're not a junior, then they're probably not going to take this exam. So in order to pass and earn the credential, students must achieve an overall score of 80% or better. PLTW exams will be offered on May 17th. These are the EOC for the end of the course. Students who take the assessments receive the detailed score reports that include a scale score ranging from 100 to 600, a corresponding achievement descriptor, which would either be novice, practiced, accomplished, or distinguished, and the level of student knowledge within the specific skill cluster, including transportable skills, assessed on a scale of 1 to 6. And students can use these scores to qualify for internships and apprenticeships. Many colleges provide credit for students who earn the necessary score in the exams, and they help to bolster college applications and resumes. So again, the PLTW end of course assessments will be offered on May 17th. So I'll stop there. We have a little bit of time. I think we allotted about an hour for this total presentation. We wanted to make sure that there was some time at the end for questions. This is what I would call probably a brief overview of some of the most important details. As I mentioned before, if you have any specific questions, please contact us through email. Classroom teachers are always a good resource. They'll know exactly what's on the exams, when the exams are, and how students can prepare. Do we have any questions that we want to address to the group?
Surprisingly, there are no questions that would be helpful to address with the group.
All right, so we still have some time. I'm going to hang out here for the next 20 minutes. So if you think of any questions, feel free to type the question, and we'll be on to answer. As always, the best way to contact is through email. Testing season gets a little busy, but I try to respond within a day. So if you email me and it's something urgent, just give me a little bit of time and I'll get right back to you. But overall, we're here to support. Our team is eager to help your student do their best during testing season, and it's stressful and it can feel long and a little intimidating, but we're right here to help. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions about anything. And with that, I'm going to turn off my microphone and camera. But as I mentioned, I'll stay on. Our team will be on to answer any of your questions. So until next time, thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.